Why teach financial literacy? We revisit Robert and Mike some 3.5 decades later. Mike has taken over his father's company and is doing an even better job than the rich dad did. As for Robert, he had retired in 1994 at the age of 47. His and his wife's wealth is growing automatically, like a well-established tree. He shares a story of the 1923 meeting of some of our greatest leaders and richest businessman, man who owned the largest steel and gas company, who ran the New York Stock Exchange, and who sat on President Harding's cabinet. 25 years later, most of their lives had ended tragically, with the men either broke, exiled, or in prison. The 1929 stock crash and Great Depression likely played a part in their fates, but today we live in a time of even more turmoil and change than they did. More important than money to our survival is our education and the ability to learn. It's not how much you make but how much you keep and how many generations you keep it. So, when people ask Robert where to start getting rich, he gives them the answer his rich dad gave him. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. Robert compares the way many people act to building a skyscraper on a slab made for a small home. Because kids graduate with little financial education, they launch into their adult lives chasing the American dream but find themselves deep in debt. The only way that they can see is a get-rich strategy. But without having that financial literacy background, their efforts are like building a skyscraper on a weak foundation. And instead of creating the Empire State Building, they end up with the Leaning Tower of Suburbia. Robert and his childhood friend Mike, however, were given a strong foundation worthy of a skyscraper thanks to the teaching of the rich dad. Accounting as a subject is boring, confusing and absolutely crucial to financial success. To make it accessible to kids, Rich Dad used pictures to teach it to the two boys. Only later did he started adding numbers to guide the boys through key concepts. Rule number 1, Robert says, is that you must know the difference between an asset and a liability, and only buy assets. That's all you need to know. But despite it being so simple, it's something that many people don't understand. When Rich Dad first explained it to the two now teenagers, they thought he was kidding. How could adults don't understand this? Shouldn't everyone be rich? The problem is that most people have been educated differently by bankers, financial planners and others, so they must unlearn what they think they know. Some find this demeaning to return to such a basic introduction. The true definitions of asset and liability lie not in words, but in numbers. Robert uses diagrams to help readers the same way Rich Dad used them to help him. This is the cash flow pattern of an asset. The top part of the diagram is an income statement, often called a profit and loss statement. It measures income and expenses, money in and money out. The lower part of the diagram is a balance sheet. It's called that because it's supposed to balance assets against liabilities. Assets add to your income. They put money in your pocket. This is the cash flow pattern of a liability. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Want to be rich? Buy assets. It seems simple, but so many people struggle because they buy liabilities. If you want to gain and maintain wealth, you must build your understanding. It's not just straight numbers, it's how the numbers tell a story. See where the money is flowing, or cash flow. It will tell you the story, the plot of that financial situation. The cash flow tells the story of how each person handles money. Often, those in debt think the answer is to make more money. But not only will more money not always solve their problems, it may compound them. It's why many people who get a sudden windfall through the lottery or an inheritance, for instance, so quickly burn through it. An increase in cash only results in an increase in spending. What is missing for so many people is a financial education. It's why they might end up successful in their professions but still struggling with money. They may have learned how to make money, but not to manage it. People can be very intelligent and still be illiterate when it comes to finances. They learned how to work hard for money, but not how to make their money work hard for them. Robert tells the story of a young couple who get married and start their lives together. Their incomes begin to increase, but so do their expenses. The couple is hit with the number one expense for most people, taxes. And for many people, it's not income tax that gives the biggest hit but Social Security. It's roughly 15%, Social Security tax combined with the Medicare tax rate, all of which must be matched by the employer, funds that the employer now can't pay the worker. The young couple is faced with those taxes and, when they buy a house, property tax. And to go with the new house is a new car, new furniture, and new appliances. Suddenly, their liabilities go up, filling with mortgage and credit card debt. The couple is trapped in a rat race. Add a baby to the mix, and they work harder, higher incomes that led to higher taxes. They continue to rack up debt, eventually rolling it into their mortgage and a consolidation loan. But their habits haven't changed, so the credit card debt continues. For this couple and so many like them, the true problem is not knowing how to handle the money they have. It's caused by financial illiteracy and not understanding the true difference between an asset and a liability. So many people don't take their time to question whether something makes sense and simply follow the crowd. Often, they mindlessly repeat what they have been told. Diversify. Your home is an asset. You get a tax break for going into greater debt. Get a safe job. Don't make mistakes. Don't take risks. Because of the large amount of time Robert and Mike spent sitting in on meetings with Rich Dad and learning from the intelligent people he surrounded himself with, they learned a lot and learned to question the standard dogma taught at their school. It began to cause problems and made them grow distant from their teachers. Robert also began disagreeing with his own father over money matters, especially when it came to his poor dad's view that his home was his greatest investment. In contrast, Rich Dad saw his home as a liability. Many people still believe that their home is an asset. But Robert teaches that a home is a liability, because it takes money out of your pocket not only with taxes and expenses, but because of its loss in value and the opportunities missed when all your money is tied up in your house. And that causes you to lose out on the education of investment experience. That doesn't mean you can't ever buy a bigger house. But make sure to first buy assets that will generate the cash flow to pay for the house. When there are enough assets to generate more than enough income to cover expenses, the balance is reinvested into assets, which grows the asset column on a balance sheet, which produces more income. The result is that the rich who understand the difference between assets and liabilities get richer. The middle class get stuck in the rat race because they treat their home as an asset instead of investing in income-producing assets. They are also stuck because their salary is their primary source of income, and thus when their income increases, so do their taxes. Many invest in mutual funds, paying a manager to handle their accounts, because they don't have the time or the expertise to do it themselves. They feel like a mutual fund is playing it safe, and they have to play it safe because their balance sheets are not balanced. They can't take advantage of opportunities because they are maxed out on debt and only have their salary bringing money in. Want to grow rich? Concentrate your efforts on buying income-producing assets when you truly understand what an asset is. Keep liabilities and expenses low. You'll deepen your asset column. So how do you know when you're truly wealthy? Robert uses a definition by R. Buckminster Fuller: wealth is a person's ability to survive for many numbers of days forward, or, if I stopped working today, how long could I survive? Another way of stating it, wealth is the measure of the cash flow from the asset column compared with the expense column. When your assets generate enough income to cover your expenses, you are wealthy, even if you are not yet rich. Left hemisphere moment. Look at the numbers and learn to read the story they are telling. Assets put money in your pocket. If something takes money out of your pocket, it's not an asset, it's a liability. Right hemisphere moment. The balance sheet drawings help explain the movement of money through different people's lives. Subconscious moment. The fear of ostracism causes people to conform to, and not question, commonly accepted opinions or popular trends, often to their financial detriment. What was Robert saying? Now it's time to reflect. What is Robert saying in this quote? And why does he say that? In this section you do not need to agree or disagree. The goal is to understand what he is saying. This curriculum is designed to be cooperative and supportive. Two minds are better than one. If you do not understand what Robert is saying, do not shy away from it. Ask for help in understanding. Take the time to discuss each quote until you understand it. It's not how much money you make. It's how much money you keep. Intelligence solves problems and produces money. Money without financial intelligence is money soon gone. If you are going to build the Empire State Building, the first thing you need to know is dig a deep hole and pour a strong foundation. If you are going to build a home in the suburbs, all you need to do is pour a 6-inch slab. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. If your pattern is to spend everything you get, most likely an increase in cash will just result in an increase in spending. In 80% of most families, the financial story paints a picture of hard work to get ahead. However, this effort is for naught because they spend their lives buying liabilities instead of assets. By not fully understanding money, the vast majority of people allow its awesome power to control them. Additional questions? Now it's time to take the stories in this chapter along with the understanding of what Robert was saying and apply them to you and your life. Ask yourself the questions below and discuss them with your study partner. Be honest with yourself and your partner. If you do not like some of the answers you're giving, ask yourself if you are willing to change and accept the challenge to change your thoughts and mindset. When did your financial education begin? Was it with this book, or from another source? How did you react when you first read Robert's definition of assets and liabilities? How did you react when he stated that a home is not an asset? Had you viewed yours as one? After he fully laid out his argument, did he change your mind? Which cash flow situation looks most like yours life? Other than your home, is there something that you thought was an asset that later revealed itself to be a liability? Would you agree with this statement? What is missing from most people's education is not how to make money, but how to manage money. Why or why not? Rich Dad told the boys that it's not the numbers that matter in accounting but what the numbers are telling you. What story do the numbers in your life tell? When was the time in your life that a seemingly positive accomplishment, such as a promotion or a raise, didn't lead to the balance sheet result you expected? How many days forward could you survive if you stopped working today? Does the number surprise or frighten you? Golden rule: he who has the gold make the rules.